Pocket Pair, the developers of Palworld, have just dropped their 0.1.5 update, and it is definitely something to behold. From bug fixes to new options that help players fix some of the issues or more grindy aspects of Palworld, overhaul changes, and even some things that you can change from the settings menu. But let's go ahead and check them out together. Alright guys, so here we are, we have the Palworld 0.1.5 update. Uh, Not too sure over in this update. I did skim it a little bit, but nothing too crazy caught my eye. But we'll start off with the major fixes. So they implemented backup save data on the world selection screen, which is great considering that their initial release had a lot of problems with people playing countless hours and then just losing that save data. I, for one, like created a separate folder somewhere on my computer to save my runs because of this issue that I heard people were having, even though I personally didn't experience it. On top of that, they also resolved an issue of unnecessary data accumulating in save data. And all that means is that, you know, stuff that your RAM in your computer can usually take care of, they just didn't find it necessary to keep it in there, which is good because a lighter version of your save data is easier to hold on to than a heavier version. And now the next one, key configuration. They they added fully supported keyboard key configuration. Yes, key binding. They implemented key binding all on its own. So now that if you didn't like how the game played, or you put the game down because you didn't like the fact that you couldn't change something or it wasn't accessible to you, now you can do that. Guilds. So they modified specifications to allow guild members to be removed when not logged in. So this sounds a little weird, but at the same time, I think I understand. So say you're playing consistently with a group of friends, and one of those friends decided that they're done with Palworld, but you now have a new friend who wants to get into it. This allows you to remove that person, but not remove them, or does not remove their saves. It removes them from the guild while they're not logged in. It sounds a little bit like what I'm trying to explain, but it could be something completely different. Okay, here's the big one. Player issues. Changed long press operation during player tasks to allow continuous work by pressing the work button once. This is switchable in the options settings. This has been one of the most heavily requested things from the community to Pocket Pair, is that they don't want to have to sit there and destroy their F key on their keyboard. Instead, now you can press F and go about doing something completely different that you can in real time. It just an instance press and then that's it. Whereas before, if you were not physically holding down the F key, or you weren't using little screws or Q-tips or something to keep it there, you weren't accomplishing anything. So this is really, really good, and for the community, especially for those people who can't just stand around and hold an F key. Next up, they fixed issues where riding in prohibited hunting areas would not result in a crime. So, a lot of us thought that this was just an implemented function, that if you didn't get off your mount while you were in a sanctuary zone, that you were good to continue doing what you were doing. That was not the case. This was actually a bug. So now, regardless of whether you're riding or flying or on the ground, you are still committing a crime in a sanctuary area. I don't know how I personally feel about this, considering that I thought it was a little intriguing to say the least that you had to use different methods in order to catch pals on those sanctuary islands. But I mean, take that with a grain of salt. It might change, it might not. It definitely could, but for now, I guess it turned out it was a bug, and that they're going to say if you're there, it's illegal. Next up, improved interaction accuracy with adjacent objects. I know that sounds really obscure, but what it means is, say that you have a set of chests where you keep all of your storage lined up. This makes it easier so that wherever you are actually pointing your cursor or the reticle in game, that is what's going to inhibit or allow the ability for you to choose that chest. Because sometimes, I know we've all done it, we just run past, we're like, okay, we're gonna dump this in my main chest or my resource chest, and then you end up dropping stuff inside of your fruit chest or something. After that, we have pals. So they changed specifications so that when a pal is instructed to attack aggressively, the pal will attack enemies indiscriminately, even if they are not in combat. So I don't know exactly the issue that most people have had. I've heard about it, that some people would set their pals on attack aggressive and the pal would do nothing. The player would have to initiate an attack and then the pal would respond. I never had to really deal with this. I had it happen once, but I ended up just shooting the creature that I was looking at. So pretty much like aggressive mode or setting aggressive for the behaviors as you would do like in Ark. And now they corrected an issue to allow pals of rank 1 or higher to be selected as concentrated material. Higher ranked pals yield more points when concentrated. This is good because this means that if you have a level 4 Chickapee that has a serious trait and now it's laying eggs like crazy, but you decided you learned how to do breeding, and now you have a Chickapee that's an artisan, serious, and like all these other passive traits, you can condense that other Chickapee and it's literally going to be worth, I don't think as much as it was used, but it'll be worth more than just counting it as one Chickapee, which is for the better. Fixed bug where if a large amount of experience points were gained and the level increased to 50 at once, pals would not learn any active skills. Okay, so this here is if you're doing, a high level boss and you are significantly lower level, or you're with pals who are lower level and you're trying to level them up, they can gain an incredible amount of experience and they will also learn those new moves, which was a problem before. Mitigated an issue where using Masanda's partner skill, Grenadier Panda, on a dungeon boss would cause the boss to get stuck in the walls. I have had this happen to me. I have had a lot of dungeon bosses just fall through the floor or go through the wall. So it's good that they're starting with the Grenadier Panda partner skill, but at the same time, I'm not sure if that's what they should be looking at directly, because there's a lot of other partner skills out there that could also do this. Base issues. Fixed an issue where base pals would get stuck on top of logging site, etc. There is so many times where we have built bases as a community that our pals would get stuck on top of something, and then we won't know until up at the top right, it's like, hey, they're hungry or they're upset and they can't work, and you look and they're just stuck on top of something. And you're like, why will you not just get down? How did you get up there in the first place? Added measures to prevent the issue where base pals would wander around and get stuck at the border of the base area. So what I think they did here which is one of the biggest Palworld fixes for bases, is the fact that your pals probably have a smaller area that they're allowed to wander than the base area itself. Because there's many times where I have put up walls surrounding my base, and I would find pals either stuck in those walls or outside of those walls. And it is infuriating because then you have to destroy all the walls, get them out. You have to, it's a lot of micromanaging that you don't want to do, especially if you're using a base for a specific function that you don't go to a lot, like a mining base. So that is really helpful. Fix an issue where pals at the base would get stuck repeatedly starting transportation tasks and the light bulbs icon would appear over and over again. I had this issue before where I would have 4 pals literally staring at a piece of wood on the ground and they don't know what hands are anymore. They completely forgot how to use their appendages and they're just like, I have something new I have to do since I can't pick up that piece of wood because this person's picking up this piece of wood. And then it just starts this whole chain reaction of idiots that can't pick up one single piece of wood until you go there and use thumbs. Added measures to prevent the issue of base pals getting stuck in the farm on a roof. I haven't had this problem directly, but again, it coincides with like getting stuck on anything, so that helps. Fix an issue where work pals would get stuck in the summon space of Palbox when restarting the server on a dedicated server. This has not just happened on dedicated servers. This has also happened on my single player saves where I will come into the game and I will see everyone standing on top of the Palbox like they're trying to merge back into it. So that is a fantastic change. Adjusted the default work priority of base pals. Anubis will prioritize manual labor. This is fantastic. This makes it so that multi-purpose pals like Anubis, like Incineram, like Blazehowl can focus on what they need to be doing specifically in the base. Of course, you're going to want Anubis to be using his hands. He's got level 4 handiwork. Why is he instead transporting wool? So yeah, this is fantastic. Significantly relaxed building restriction for stairs and triangular roofs. So I don't know exactly what they mean by triangular roofs. Whenever they might be talking about just the side angle walls that we use to place the sloped roofs on. But I have noticed that if you put the sloped roof, or if you put stairs, and then you try to put in the open filling space those triangular walls, you can't. You have to actually destroy the stairs first, then put the triangular walls, then put the stairs. So I think they made it so that it's easier, so that you could just slap on together whichever way you want to. You don't have to do it in a specific style, which again is a great fix. Specification changes so that all changes in environmental temperature are added up. If you put 4 campfires next to each other, the surrounding area will have the temperature of a volcano. I don't really understand this one because I don't deal too much with temperature stuff. But for those of you who use heaters and coolers to help reduce the timers for egg incubation, I feel like this is what they're trying to say. Whereas I hope it doesn't mean that if you have, 2 cooking pots in your area, now everything is going to be significantly hotter. Because that will be a little weird if it's just on one side of the base. And instead, I'm not even sure how this one works. But if they're willing to put it in there and explain it to us that, hey, don't put 4 campfires together because you're going to get hot, then that makes more sense. I thought it was a little different that, you could be in your base and you're in a colder area or in a hotter area and you're not affected by those temperatures. Implemented relax working style on the monitoring stand. So no longer is the monitoring stand used to just rule out your iron fist. Now it can actually be used by all players so that, they they can do work at a slower pace or at a calmer pace for those type of players that don't want to just abuse their pals into the ground. They can do this instead so that the pals feel safer and you feel like you're actually being a generous leader, so that way the pals can choose whenever they want to relax, because there are times where if you don't use a monitoring stand because there was no point, the pals would get stressed out from overworking themselves because they didn't know their own limits, which I do like. I will probably be building building a monitoring stand in the next video just to see how this works. Now we've come to balance adjustment. Okay, so I haven't looked at any of this stuff, but I am excited. Significantly strengthen mining power for Dig Toys partner skills. This is good because Dig Toys for a level 3 miner is not that great. I have noticed that I could have a Tombat who's an artisan do more than a Dig Toys, and Tombat's got level 2 mining, and even if he is an artisan, he's still level 2, which means level 3 should supersede that. So I agree. Fix the abnormally high selling prices of nails. I had no idea this was a thing, and I am ashamed that I did not produce nails sooner. Significantly increase the number of police officers who appear when a crime is committed. I haven't been caught doing a crime yet, but I have seen other players commit a crime, and you definitely get a lot, but they also have stormtrooper aim. So I think instead of like improving their aim, they just gave you more, because accuracy through volume. Added electric shock effect to Free Pal Alliance's crossbow. I don't know what that means. I don't know how them having a crossbow, or because their leader, I don't think even has an electric type pal. But do as they may. Maybe it's a little something for them to help fight you back. Adjusted the flight distance of Sphere Launcher and Scatter Fear Launcher. This is probably good for those players who have actually tested out these weapons, but I have not, so I'm just going to skip over that one. Increase the sanity value recovery amount of high quality hot springs. This is good so that pals actually gain a significant amount of sanity while they're, relaxing. So instead of building 4 or the equal amount of high quality hot springs over the normal ones, because the sanity value before wasn't that great. But it's good to know now that you can create less of those, take up less space in your bases, and those pals can still get the amount of sanity they need. Network related. So they renovated the server lobby. I don't know what that means, so I'm skipping. Search by server name will now work. This is good because a lot of times you've had to put in the IP address for the server that you wanted to access. You couldn't actually just type it out. So it's good that this is actually implemented. Added the ability to view online players on a dedicated server. That's good because now you don't have to tell, your friends where you are or where you were, and they have to guess around looking around on the map with you. So this is good. On community servers, this will only be displayed if the setting is enabled. So keep that in mind. If you want this to be enabled, you have to do it yourself. And then finally, we've come down to others. Fix the issue where day 5 memo was not placed. I don't know if there's a lot of people who have dealt with that. I haven't looked at the lore myself, but hey, there you go. You can now adjust the in-game brightness in the settings. This is huge considering the fact that Palworld is extremely dark and your lantern or your hip lantern doesn't turn on until a specific time. So this is actually something that I look forward to using because I can't see most things. Fix minor bugs. We got no context. Corrected various incorrect text. Good. I have a problem with grammar, and I'm glad that this got fixed. Improved measures against cheating. I don't know what kind of people are out there trying to cheat on a PvE game, or currently a PvE game, but stop it. You have no friends, and no one loves you. But that is pretty much the end of our patch notes. So let me know what you guys think down below. Are there things you like, things that you don't like? What would you rather see changed in the future? But thank you so very much for watching. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to do the thing and thing and thing. And I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.
It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time.